Joe, by law, I need to tell you we're recording now. Also, by law, you need to have your face mask on because COVID-19 is real. But anyways, welcome. This is SWB Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, The Real Get At Me. And this is my co-host, Joey Fantasy.
And I'm the co-host, Joey Fantasy.
Now, we're here to tell you we're finishing up the last two rounds here of our slow draft of our podcast or Instagram league that I started. Joe's not having fun with it because he thinks it's weird because it's July, but he'll learn.
It's a little early. I think most of us that are listening to this podcast would say that July in a pandemic is a little bit early for a slow draft.
If you're listening to this podcast in July, it's because you love fantasy football and that you never think it's too early to start another draft.
I beg to differ.
So anyways, we'll go over our first couple rounds and, we'll talk about, what we were thinking and where we were going from roster construction-wise. And I had the 7th overall pick in the first round. Joey had the 3rd, so I'm going to let him start off with his first pick.
Yeah, so not to mention this draft I was made aware of this draft about 24 hours prior in advance. A little research was done on my part. I will come out and admit that. However, we are in the last 2 rounds of the draft as we speak, so you may hear a phone buzz in, and that means we're on the clock. However, with it ending here shortly,
you can watch me pick my kicker live.
I'm pretty confident that, like in the SWB Fantasy Football League in 2013 and 2020 in this little podcast league that the new commissioner here started, I'll probably end up on top of that as well. Because there's a bunch of sheep in this league, if you know what I mean.
There's some guys who, I don't know if they're using counselor 16 rounds or if Fantasy Football for Dummies Hunter is just out of his mind. Maybe he knows something I don't know. But
so with the third overall pick, I decided to go with Zeke Elliott. I mean, the first few rounds are pretty obvious. Not to mention, guys, this is a snake draft. Anyone that knows that what we do in the SWB Fantasy Football League, we have recently changed to an auction. Last year was our first year as an auction. I give a lot of props to Mike Kiefer for introducing that to us. It's been a
game changer.
Yeah, it really is. Obviously, the auction draft gives you access to whomever you want. So any homework or any research that you do, you can get some really good value in the auction draft. So, but anyways, this was a snake, so you're all aware of that. I was the 3rd overall pick. I took Zeke Elliott, which was pretty standard. Some guys in the league, including Mr. Kerbari, the real good happy next to me, thought I should have went in a different direction, possibly with the New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara. Kumbara. But, I went with Zeke, so I'm pretty excited about that. I mean, that's a solid number 1 running back to start off with.
Yeah, you're not going to go wrong with Zeke. So I guess, out of all your picks, maybe that was one that made the most sense. When I was picking at the 7th spot, and, everybody in front of me went running back heavy. Michael Thomas did go at number 5, so that kind of threw me off. Because I was hoping that he'd be there at 7, but I was staring down at either Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, or going wide receiver. And, at that point I thought, get my wide receiver now because there's plenty of running backs I still see value in. So I went Devontae Adams first round. I'm happy with it, especially at the 7th spot. Like we said, we weren't in a bot lobby, so this wasn't, just auto drafts. And Dalvin Cook fell into the 2nd round, so some people are taking his holdout pretty serious in the fantasy community there on our Instagram podcast or league. So that, if that tells you anything right now. Now, swinging back around now, since I picked 7, I was picking 6th in the 2nd round in the swing back. And
what about my rebuttal to your pick?
You want to rebut?
Yeah, for the actual listeners
rebut.
That want some good advice.
Give them the butt.
Turn that off.
Wow, Joe.
I'm on the clock. I'm putting my kicker in right now.
Is that Will Lutz? Is he calling you?
It's Will Lutz. He just signed with Joey Fantasy. It's going to be a great year.
Let's go.
Devontae Adams, yeah, he gets a great rapport this year, but let's not forget, guys, down reach there. When we were the 7th overall pick.
7th.
Aaron Rodgers was a bust last year. Everybody knows it. Everyone thinks it's the comeback year for him. I got news for you. With the pandemic and everything going on, it isn't the comeback year for Aaron Rodgers. He plays on grass. He plays up north. Devontae Adams.
Is his only wide receiver. Only guy that can catch the ball.
Was a stretch, especially he's injury
The
prone.
only guy. Aaron Rodgers can throw the ball 50 times a game.
I think it was a little bit of a stretch at the 7. I would have done things differently, but go ahead with your comeback around draft pick.
Yeah, come back around. So I'm totally off script now because all the other running backs that I would have taken in the 2nd round were then gone as Mixon, Jacobs, Sanders, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Kenyon Drake, Leonard Fournette, and Nick Chubb were then taken directly behind me. I wasn't about to settle for Le'Veon Bell in the 2nd round, so I let those guys pass. Like Austin Eckler might have been the only other guy that, if I was looking running back there, I would have taken in the 2nd. So again, I took best available wide receiver, and I took Tyreek Hill. So I'm stacked right now with Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill, 2 guys that can end games pretty quickly, and with the flick of the wrist of 2 of the best quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. You're up, Joey.
So my 2nd round pick after I swung back around, it ended up being the 21st, I think, pick in the draft, something like that. And I threw yet another curveball. Again, this is a snake draft, but for many of you that don't know this, I was in the city of Pittsburgh the last 2 years with my career, and I learned a lot of things from the Roonies. You draft the best athletic player that's on the board, okay? So, yeah, as much as I would have liked to have had an elite receiver or running back there, Patrick Mahomes was available. And let me just tell you, fantasy guys out there, you have Patrick Mahomes on your roster, you could win every single week that he plays. So I was very happy with him, even though I might have been a little bit of a stretch to grab him a little early. Like I said, you put a couple pieces around him, you have a chance to go far. So you have COVID?
Yeah, I think Joe, like he said at the beginning, he was unprepared for this. He talks like he's a fantasy guy, but it's July, as he keeps telling me, and he doesn't have any rankings done past the 1st round, so, or at least past Zeke. So he had 1, 2, 3 filled out, and then he forgot to do his homework. And
you have how many championships?
He got them all.
Do you have any? Can you put that on air? Do you have any championships?
Right,
he doesn't have any. Were you lowest point? You need a bottle of water? Get a damn bottle of water.
I got a water jug over there. Anyways, so Pat Mahomes, I'm not going to fault Joe for taking Pat Mahomes. Like he said, best available guy. He's a game changer every day. That you put him out there, that he plays football. So, for a 2nd round pick, especially like I said, this league went very run heavy. So the running backs just weren't there for some guys who thought that there would be people falling. So, again, Pat Mahomes, not a bad pick there on the 1st one or the 2nd round.
So coming around the 3rd round here, we're approaching. So there was 2 picks that were 2 guys that were in front of me at the 2 and the 1, and then they reversed back to me, obviously. Coming back around,
that's how snake works.
I'm running back heavy for the most part. One of the guys that got drafted right before me was Todd Gurley. I'm really big on Todd Gurley this year because he has a Matt Ryan, obviously thrown to Julio Jones, which is a deep threat, which opens up a nice, God bless you, run game. However, I wasn't able to snag him. The next best available running back, in my opinion, was from the Seattle Seahawks, Chris Carson. Towards the end of the season last year, he really started to turn it on. He's still got some young legs in him. So I, again, went with running back, quarterback, running back. So now I have, obviously, 2 running backs. So,
and that was a good pick there, Chris Carson, as a former owner of Chris Carson. I know you're getting good value there. I think most weeks you're going to see him outperform some of the Le'Veon Bells, the Leonard Fournettes that went in the 2nd round.
I think I got a 2nd round running back in a 3rd round, if you ask me.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely. I think what you could have done, since you like to do weird things, I think you could have taken on the swing back, just gone Lamar Jackson because he was still there, and made somebody give you two of their running backs for Lamar Jackson.
I'm not a Lamar fan though.
You didn't have to be. You have to find a Lamar fan. That's how trading works. Mike Kiefer, give this guy some trading advice.
I'll save that one for later in our draft picks here. How I got some trade bait.
All right, so then I come back around. I think it's the time that I take a running back. It's round 3. Anybody that I thought was top 10, top 15, they're gone. A guy that I didn't want to take, but at this point of the draft, I thought I'd just take the upside, take the optimism and the hype of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think is how you say it, not Kamara. So I took ECH, and I'm going to hope for the best. Damian Williams might start the season, and, I'm pretty good at piecing together a team halfway through the season. And all you got to do is make the playoffs, and then you got a dream. So if I've got the lead running back for the Chiefs at the end of the season, just like last year with Damian Williams, he could, really push me through the playoffs. So, again, he might not come off real well the first 4 or 5 weeks, but if he turns down at the end of the year, then that's when it counts. And that's what I'm looking for.
I like it. I mean, it's a big gamble, but you got to risk it to get the biscuit, and you took a chance there. I like to take a lot of chances in the later rounds, but I respect taking a chance like that in the earlier rounds.
I think I'm a good enough owner to take those chances early.
Most points last year.
Still won 7 games. So then, as Joe explained how snake draft works, we then snake back around. So I took at the 4th pick of the 2nd round here, or the 6th pick of the 2nd round. And me and Joe were both talking about it, who would get there, and we both, I don't know if we call it agreed, but we both thought best case scenario, Melvin Gordon falls to me in the 4th, and I don't know if it's a good thing that, everybody here took 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds, and Melvin Gordon was the last one available in the 4th round for me. That would have an ECR or an average drafted position in the top 3 rounds. So Melvin Gordon was still there in the 4th. So again, maybe Denver signed him because, like they've shown, they don't want Philip Lindsay to be a workhorse running back, and Melvin Gordon knows how to catch the ball. Melvin Gordon knows how to break tackles, and Drew Lock might not be that good of a quarterback, so he might need to lean on his veteran running back who they paid $1 million to. So so I'm actually not nervous about that. I liked it. I was happy I was able to get him, and I think there is plenty of upside, but much like Clyde, it could take a couple weeks to find out what his role is in the Denver offense.
So speaking of upside, my next pick, this is the 4th round, right?
Yeah, 4th round.
Which would be the 4th round. I needed to obviously go receiver. I had taken Patrick Mahomes and 2 solid running backs, so I needed to fill the void of a receiver. So my options were Keenan Allen, I believe Adam Thielen, and Juju Smith-Schuster, being from Pittsburgh and talking about upside.
He's from Pittsburgh?
One of the last 2 years. Been living in Pittsburgh the last 2 years.
He's from Pittsburgh now, guys.
From Pittsburgh now. CLE till I die.
From Pittsburgh.
Being out there, like I said, I've had 2 other options.
Sorry for all the offensive words on my shirt.
2 other options. Adam Thielen, getting a little bit older. Had a little bit of injuries last season. And my other one was Keenan Allen. Obviously, everyone knows Phillip Rivers is in Indianapolis. So the smart pick to me was Juju Smith-Schuster. He has upside because last year he did have some injury problems, but they were babying him because Ben Roethlisberger wasn't there. Let's be honest, they really think they were going to make a push.
Because he's a baby.
I mean, so with a healthy Ben Roethlisberger and a healthy Juju, I think there's some upside there. So I went with Juju Smith-Schuster. I Juju on that beat.
If I'm doing my rebuttal on your pick there, I don't think Juju would be the guy I'm grabbing there. Like you mentioned, Adam Thielen, he's a guy that's getting 12-plus targets a game, it feels like. He's a guy that Kirk Cousins trusts, and Kirk Cousins in a better part of his career than, say, Roethlisberger is. Uh, the the offense of Minnesota after Dalvin Cook is Adam Thielen. So I guess, Thielen would have been the guy I was going for. And I also think there were some better options there too, in terms of.
So the Steelers' number one ranked offense the year Ben Roethlisberger was healthy in 2018 doesn't give you upside for Juju in 2020, even though they were both injured obviously last year, so you can't take last year's stats.
Right. I remember there was that other guy that used to catch the ball over there.
Antonio Brown?
Yeah. 2018.
Well, they got Deontay Johnson now, like a little speedster.
We'll get to that guy, Joe.
Oh, he's on my roster too.
No,
so
Joe got all the secrets. Do you want to tell? Okay, so snake draft. It's going to swing back around to Joey.
Swing back around. Again, I threw another little bit of a curveball.
He's going to miss out on Raheem Mostert and A.J. Brown on the backside of the swing.
Yeah, I wasn't really concerned. I wouldn't want
A.J. Brown's overhyped too.
Both of those guys were overhyped. So I actually went to tight end round with Mark Andrews. He's getting more targets than both the guys.
That's the third tight end off the board here.
Third one, Kelsey and
Kittle were gone.
2,
3, and then Andrews in the fifth.
So obviously Lamar, likes to target his tight end. He's a big physical young tight end. And again, Mark Andrews is getting more targets and receptions than a lot of the receivers and running backs as far if you're comparing the carries that were on the board. So to me, it was a no-brainer. Go Mark Andrews here in the slot.
Yeah. So coming back down through that list, I was eyeing this guy, and I think, I think he's going to be not a sleeper in terms of where I picked him because he's still going to play, in my flex position here. I saw Tyler Lockett go there 2 picks before me. And at that point, I thought, if I want this guy, I got to take him now. So I took his counterpart, DK Metcalf, who is a second-year wide receiver. He was the leading targeted rookie wide receiver last year at 109 targets, I believe. He had 2 more than Christian Kirk. So Metcalf gets the ball. Russell Wilson is one of the most efficient quarterbacks playing right now, outside maybe, the top 2, in efficiencies. So, DK Metcalf has a lot of upside. And then, red zone targets. Tyler Lockett isn't the red zone threat that DK Metcalf can be. And with Seattle kind of trying to go and draft or sign Greg Olsen to be their tight end, since Will Dissly's not probably going to be ready for the season with that ACL tear, DK Metcalf becomes your biggest body there in the red zone, and I think that's where Russell's going to feel comfortable in throwing the ball when it's touchdown time.
Yeah, I like that pick that you made there. I mean, I've already told you. Your middle of the round draft picks there, I was actually very impressed with it. You got some good value.
Yeah, so I like that guy. So that was our first 5 rounds there. Maybe right now we're going to look at our rosters through the last couple rounds and, pick out our favorite guys here. I know personally for me, somewhere around the 9th or 10th round, more tight ends had come off the board. I know somebody had grabbed like Austin Hooper and some other terrible tight end choices. And I thought maybe, this is the time to do it before somebody catches on. And I went ahead and I snagged Hayden Hurst there in the 8th or 9th round. I just feel that with Hooper going to Cleveland and Hayden Hurst being a 2018 first-round draft pick for the Ravens, and he did get some playing time last year with the Ravens. He just didn't seem like he got as much opportunity as he needed to develop as a young tight end, and I think getting on a more established offense like the Atlanta Falcons and, being that number 3 right behind, Jones and Ridley, I think Hurst is going to have plenty of volume there. I mean, because Hooper was targeted 93 times last year. Or I think, 93 times. So there's plenty of volume to go around there. And with all the other guys that might be on the field with Jones and Ridley, I think there's plenty of room for Hurst to make some damage there.
I would say for my later round draft picks, one of the guys I'm most excited about, and it is a big risk, big reward here, is AJ Green from Cincinnati. I think I picked him up in the 9th round in the snake draft, 8th or 9th round. And let's be honest, he's a big veteran target for a rookie quarterback. So I believe Joe Burrow obviously is going to lean very heavily on AJ Green. I think he's had enough time to fully recuperate and do his rehab through his injury. I mean, there was talk about him being ready last season, so I think he's going to be fully healthy. And I think, like I said, Joe Burrow is going to rely heavily on a big physical receiver in AJ Green. So I'm pretty happy to have him in my receiver 2 spot.
Yeah, I think AJ Green comes with plenty of upside. Young quarterback, all young wide receivers. So, you have to figure AJ Green's going to still be teaching T. Higgins and John Ross. And, maybe, Boyd's, I think, the 3rd-year wide receiver now. So he might be the next guy up there that's,
And they got a good running back mix and open things up. I mean.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of, maybe a Larry Fitzgerald type season where he 110 targets just because the young quarterback knows that.
That's all I need.
When you need a guy.
When you have Patrick
AJ
Mahomes every weekend, and you just fill it in. It's a beautiful thing, guys. 2013. DM me if you need to know, or if you don't know.
I don't think calendars go back that far anymore, Joe.
Out of our draft so far, what would be your not your disappointment, but something like I could probably do
disappointment. I can't.
Or your biggest question mark, I should say.
My biggest question mark right now, I drafted Alan Lazard of Green Bay, and he's not really a question mark as much as I thought maybe he would be. Most guys are handcuffing the running backs that they took in the 1st or 2nd round, and I took a wide receiver. And if I lose Devontae Adams for any couple of weeks, like some people did last year, I don't want to be scrambling to find out who's getting those targets. And I think since Green Bay didn't draft any wide receivers, they didn't trade for any wide receivers, and Aaron Rodgers made it perfectly clear that he hates Geronimo Allison and Marcus Valdes-Scantling, that Alan Lazard is going to be the guy. It may not come in the same volume of 10-plus targets, but, if it is his go-to guy on the field when Adams isn't there, I think it's safe. I think it's safe enough to keep him on my bench for the year if I need him.
Yeah, so mine's not really a disappointment. I just have a lot of faith riding in this pick. Don probably already knows. He's already stated it a few times if you weren't listening. Austin Hooper, he's the highest paid tight end in the league right now. So I need him to play like he's the highest rated or paid tight end in the league right now, because I'm probably going to use him in my flex, because we have a true flex where you can put a receiver, running back, or tight end in there.
Only took 12 years, guys. Congrats.
I know a lot of the guys in this league, including Dom, said, well, that was a dumb pick because they have Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. There's a lot of people that need to
Right. Does it sound stupid just saying it out loud right now?
But you got Baker Mayfield, who needs to light it up this year. Everybody knows that. Odell Beckham probably won't even be in a Browns uniform for all we know mid-season. Who knows what Odell Beckham's going to do? He could be –
He tried to retire, remember?
It could be a tier 1 receiver. We don't know. He could be not even a tier 3 by the end of the year. So Austin Hooper's a young guy, fresh legs. I got to believe Baker's going to want to use him, especially in red zones. So not to mention, if you look back at the statistics, I believe Hooper didn't play two games last year, and he still was amongst one of the, if not the top 3 targeted tight ends. So he's got targets like your tier 3 receivers, tier 2 receivers. So
right in Atlanta, where his quarterback is Matt Ryan, and they throw the ball for 4,500 yards a year.
Well, I think you're going to be surprised.
That's fine. Quick question for you, Joe. I guess you can think about while I answer my own question. So a couple rookies. Everyone's going to take a couple chances on some rookies here. I was fortunate that this league isn't a bunch of buck nuts, and J.K. Dobbins fell to a round that I felt comfortable taking a chance on him, and he holds this about the same upside as, say Edward Hilaire does as the season progresses and he becomes more acclimated with an offense that he's not going to get much of a spring training with or a summer camp, whatever, the OTAs that, it's going to be harder for Dobbins to take touches away from a guy like Mark Ingram. Not as hard as Edward Hilaire, probably getting touches away from somebody like Damian Williams, who isn't, to the same stature or pedigree as what Mark Ingram is right now, who's proven that on a couple of different teams he's been a very serviceable back that, they seem to, like what he brings. But if Dobbins does get a chance, or, say Ingram has hit that 31, 32 years old age that he can't do it all, I could be looking at two of the youngest, most exciting running backs, since a guy like Kareem Hunt.
So what's your question to me? Like, what rookie do
Yeah, how do you feel about your rookies, Jefferson and Evans?
I don't want to talk about my rookies. I don't want to give people too much insight on the.
Oh, Joe's nervous. Remember?
I don't need my
don't wanna hide
SWB listeners knowing my secrets, but I will say
There are only listeners, Joe. Tell them.
I will say in the rookie class, I think the for sure rookie that's going to be a plug and play is going to be Detroit Lions running back Swift. So with a shortened season, possibly no fans, limited practices, limited, working out facilities together. Some of these other rookies, like the two that you drafted, they might not have as much playing time as they would have in a normal rookie season with normal circumstances. So with that being said, I think the rookie with the most upside, in my opinion, for this first season with all this crazy stuff that's going on just this season, is Swift from Detroit Lions.
I like it. And Detroit has, they thought they had something to carry on Johnson, and he just seemed to, a little bit of injuries, a little bit of maybe losing Matt Stafford, showed some of carry on deficiencies as a ball carrier. But
if you look on the depth chart right now online, before they even started practicing, Swift is the one.
He's the one.
Yeah.
All right. That's about all I got for today. Maybe next time, like we did on our previous podcast, we'll hit these rankings in full. We just wanted to go over this mock draft that we were doing. It's not a mock draft; it's a real league. There's buy-ins. Joey might think it's just throwing money in the wind, but some people care about where their money goes.
If you want my two rookies that I didn't want to talk about,
cameras over here.
Two rookies that Dom had mentioned, DM one of us, and I'll give you the inside scoop on one of them. And if you have my cell phone, text me because you're gonna want to have them. Believe me. 2013.
But yeah, so like I said, this was a good opportunity. I know it's snake draft, so it's not what we do in our big money league, but it is a good gauge of where everybody's looking at because these are guys that claim to, unlike some of our guys in our league, do their homework. So you're not drafting against guys who are just pissing in the wind here, taking whoever that four-letter corporation tells them to take. They've got an educated reasoning behind each one of their picks. So, it's nice to see, what's happening and where some of these guys fall and where people reach. So, I mean, it's been fun so far. Like I said, Joe's going to pick his kicker here pretty soon. I'm going to pick my kicker and maybe another young wide receiver or running back. But I think that's all we got for you guys today. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button and the subscribe button. Share it with your friends. I think the share is over here. Let everybody know that the SWB Fantasy Football Podcast /Instagram/YouTube page, it's the place to get your information from. So,
and the season started.
The season already started. It's No time. No time to do homework, Joe. This is the test.
You're taking the test right now.
You either know it or you don't. Okay. So.
You hear that, Chase?
Lion mentality. Don't be a sheep.
Don't be a sheep. You got plenty of time. Quarantine. Do your homework.
Do your homework. See you guys.